Hello YouTube folks, today we are going to make chicken and hot and sour soup. This is just one of the versions, one of the many that you would find on YouTube. This is our version. There is no strictly one recipe for hot and sour soup. You can make them in many different ways. So the first thing I've got over here is about 2.5 liters of chicken stock. You could use bone broth. You could use slightly more diluted chicken stock if you want, and if you have very dense stock, then you can add water to it. I've not added any water to this stock. This was fairly diluted, as you can see. This is stock made with chicken bones and meat, and it's fairly diluted already, so it doesn't need any more water. If you do have very dense stock and if you want to use bone broth, you might need to top up on the spices that I'll be putting in here. We'll go through the ingredients and then you'll see them in the description link as well. So the first thing that goes into the stock will be salt. Now I have made this soup quite a few times in the spot, so I know the ratios. You could add salt and spices to your taste, but I am using a baker's spoon to actually get an accurate weight for salt for you guys. So I'm adding 3 teaspoons of salt, leveled 3 teaspoons of salt, red chili powder, about half a teaspoon. You can add cayenne pepper. Next we'll be adding a teaspoon of white pepper. And a teaspoon of black pepper. Three-quarters of a teaspoon garlic and 3/4 of a teaspoon ginger, crushed garlic and crushed ginger. Just give it a slight stir, and then I'm going to add a little bit of tomato paste. I'm using a very high concentration of tomato paste. This is double concentrate. I would use about a tablespoon's worth of paste in here. We give it a very slight flavor. It's not to flavor the soup to a tomato taste, it's just to give it slight color and a slight flavor. So for people who don't like bits of garlic or ginger in the soup, you can, if you want, you can fry it and then add it to the soup, or you could just blend it with a little bit of stock so that you don't see the bits in here. I personally like it. It will probably take 20 minutes or more for the soup to cook. By that time, the ginger and garlic, you would not really taste them once you are having the soup. Now we'll leave it. We'll leave the stock to come to a boil. It'll probably take about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll start adding the meat to it. So these are the vegetables that we'll add to the soup. Here you see some mushrooms. Now you can get any kind. This is about 100 grams worth of mushrooms, so we've just finely chopped. You could use any different kind of mushrooms that you can get hold of. I have 2 carrots here and half a decent sized cabbage. There are about 2 chillies that we have, and also half a bunch of coriander that will go into the soup as well. Now I have used the chopper, except for the mushrooms. Everything else I have chopped in a chopper. So just wanted to show you guys what I was doing. So this is the chopper that I was using for soup. It really cuts down the amount of time that you have to spend on dicing the vegetables for soup. If you want to do it in any other way, it's completely okay. I just do it to reduce the time, and I just use a chopper and I just quickly chop everything. Just a quick tip: always for the vegetables, go with the smallest setting. You've only got 2 over here. Go with the smallest setting, and then you can always check the vegetables, and if they are of exactly the right size that you need, you could stop chopping. So I would usually just chop them, give it a little bit of a shake, and we'll just open and then see if it's going down to the required size or not. And then I'll do that a couple of times again. Again, open and check, and I see that this is a decent size. Now you could go much smaller than that. I think it's just perfect. It's just chunky enough, and then it's again, you can just check if you've got big lumps or some pieces that might not have been diced correctly. You could just give it a shake and chop it again. And that's it, all done. So that's carrots, coriander, cabbage, chilies. There's red and green, both chilies in there. I'm adding 2 large chilies, 1 red and 1 green. Okay, and I will just add it to the mushrooms. So that's just the bits that I was going to show you. Everything else is chopped already. So soup's coming to a boil. I'll just take the lid off, and then we'll start adding our chicken. So stock's come to a boil. It's got a nice, lovely red tinge. And here's the chicken. So this is about 300 grams of chicken breast meat. I've chopped it into like long strips. And then I marinated it with about a tablespoonful of corn flour, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, dark soy sauce, and just a little bit of water. Now I had water in it so that the meat doesn't stick and doesn't become a huge lump when it goes inside the soup. Now you could add a little bit more water to this, and the more water you add, it will just make sure that it doesn't get become a lump when it goes into the chicken stock. Chicken stock's very hot, and the chicken tends to get lumped together. I'm just going to add it to the stock. Here it goes in, and immediately I need to stir it so that the chicken doesn't stick. And add it to hot boiling stock when the soup's really hot and boiling, and that's the time to actually add it. Don't add it to cold soup. Okay. So that's the first thing gone in. Now immediately what you'll see is the bones, sorry, the chicken strips, they turn white. Cooked very quickly because the stock was very hot when it went into it. We'll let it come to a boil again. The chicken shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to get cooked. If you want, you can put the lid on for it to come to a boil quicker. So we'll just leave it for another 5 minutes for the chicken to just get cooked. So the stock's coming to a nice boil. The chicken seems to be ready. As you can see, it's cooked. It's been over 5 minutes since it's been boiling in the soup. The next thing I'm going to add now is corn flour. I have corn flour here. It's about 4 tablespoons of corn flour, heaped tablespoons of corn flour, which could probably be close to half a cup. You can go, you can add more, I mean, it depends really. I prefer putting the corn flour in very icy, chilled, cold water so that it doesn't get any lumps when I add it to the soup. I also prefer it adding to the soup now. Probably I've seen a lot of people add it right at the end. I have had better luck with corn flour not getting lumpy and not sitting down and getting stuck at the bottom when I've added it at this stage. Especially for this quantity of soup, this is probably going to make about 3 to 4 liters of soup, and you're adding a lot of corn flour to it. So I think it's better not to take a risk. Mix your corn flour in very cold water, and then add it at this stage now. Like I'm adding it now, and just check if it needs more. You can stop and you think it's thick enough. Okay, and very quickly, as you can see, because the soup was very hot, it's become thick, nice and shiny. There's a sheen on the surface. It looks very nice. There's bits of crushed black pepper in there, you can see, and that's perfect. I'm adding juice of a lemon to the soup. You could add about 3 lemons. I think 3 lemons is a good, or has been a good ratio for this amount of soup. But today I'm adding lemon and vinegar, white vinegar both, just to show you that whatever ingredient you prefer. Either you could add lemons or you could add lime juice. And here I've got about 90 milliliters of vinegar. This is white pickling vinegar. You can add whatever vinegar, whatever flavor you like. You can add balsamic, you can add apple cider vinegar, whatever vinegar you prefer. That's the sour ingredient gone in. Now I'm going to add some soy sauce in it. I'm going to add about 1/3 to perhaps half a cup of light soy sauce. I'm not adding dark soy sauce. You can, if you want, you can add both. I'm just adding light soy sauce now. Okay, what the heck, I'll add some dark soy sauce in it as well. So that's about 3 tablespoons of dark soy sauce that I've added to it. So the soup's boiling now, and then now's the time I would add vegetables to it. All the vegetables that I had chopped. So you can see there's the chillies, the coriander, the mushrooms, the carrots, the cabbage. I'm going to add everything. Don't want to waste anything. I'll add every little bit that's left in the bowl. And there it goes. I'm just going to give it one little stir. So there's this one stir. Just give it a little mix. You don't want to overcook the vegetables. And you just wait for it to come to a little boil. It starts getting cooked. It's coming to a boil, and here I've got 4 eggs that I've lightly beaten. I literally just broke the yolks, so you could still see that it's not very well blended. The eggs are just lightly beaten up. There's 4 eggs in here. You could add 2 more eggs. It could anywhere be between 4 to 6 eggs. And I'm just going to pour the eggs, the beaten eggs, inside the soup. The soup started cooking again. As you can see from the sides, you can see the bubbles from the sides. I am just going to pour the eggs, and I am not stirring it. As you can see, I'm not stirring it. I'm just pouring it inside. If you want the eggs to be distributed in very small pieces, and if you want, you can start stirring it right away. I actually prefer to just pour it, leave it for a while, and then I'll start stirring it with the ladle. Will just give me some chunky pieces of egg that will start floating on top of the soup. So again, I am not stirring it. I'm just letting the egg to get cooked inside. And as you can see, the egg starts coming up. It's coming from the sides, it's starting to come up. I'm using a non-stick pan, so of course if you were not using a non-stick pan, you could probably use something else. Now again, you will see that here's a huge piece of egg that I've got. It breaks very easily, so that's not an issue. I'm just going to reduce the heat to about low-medium. And let the soup to come to another boil. And this is how it finally looks. As you can see, I've got the rest of the soup boiling in the pot. And you see it in the bowl now. And it looks really good. You can add any vegetables that you want, any herbs, any fresh herbs that you want, any sort of vinegar that you prefer. Any sauces that you prefer. There are a million different ways that you could improvise and make your own hot and sour soup. I hope you liked the video. Please try and give a thumbs up and like and subscribe. Thank you.